When I was 17 years old, I looked like a woman. Here's a picture. Now I have 1,500 nanograms per deciliter testosterone. So you might have heard taurine, right? It extends life, right? There's studies that say that it extends life by 23%. Now the truth is, those studies are made on worms. I don't know about you, but if I look in the mirror, I don't see worms, right? So maybe there is some effect. They did the same study on rats. They just normalized the dosage. And the life extended, in worms it was 23%, in rats it was like 10, 12, right? So probably there is some mechanism, right? Extending telomeres, protecting against whatever. That's not what we're gonna talk about. We're gonna talk specifically on testosterone, on sleep, cholesterol, right? So when it comes to studies on humans, it's not that common to see, right? So creatine, for example, the most studied supplement, the most studied powder supplement, whatever, on the market, has the longest study lasts 8 years. So they literally got somebody and the study lasted 8 years and they saw everything in those 8 years. When it comes to taurine, there really aren't any testosterone studies on humans, but the longest one is 365 days. And that one was precisely when it comes to cardiovascular health, these things, right? However, we have a lot of studies on rats and also long-term ones. So one of the most, in my opinion, most important studies is, well, it displayed an increase of luteinizing hormone by 47%. And that's obviously in rats, right? Now, what is luteinizing hormone? Recapping, it's basically the hormone that's spawned. How the fuck do you say? It's the hormone that's released inside of our brain. It travels with the bloodstream downwards into our testicles and it stimulates the testicles to produce testosterone. This is basically our main stimulant, right? LH and also follicle stimulating hormone, but LH is the main one. So naturally, if you have a 47% larger production of LH, that means you're gonna have a bigger production of testosterone. That's obvious, right? That's taurine. Now, what was the dosage here? When you normalize it with humans, because you obviously have to do it when it comes to mass, it's between 2,000 and 3,000. I'm gonna write 3,000. But if you're like, 70 kilograms, 60 kilograms, then it's more like 2,000. So the dosage here to have this effect is 3,000 milligrams per day. But let's talk about the mechanisms, right? So in my opinion, the most important thing that taurine does is it acts as an agonist to GABA receptors. It's a GABA receptor agonist. Now, what does that mean that it's a GABA receptor agonist? When you have GABA receptors, right? In fact, any receptor, the analogy we like to use is the port in a ship. This is our port, this is our receptor, right? And oftentimes, each port can actually take in more than one type of ship, let's call it, right? So in this situation, if this is our GABA receptor, it can take the GABA molecule itself, it could come in here, it could dock, right? Just like ships do, and it could send the signal. But also, what could actually come here is taurine. So taurine could actually attach itself, it could dock and send in the signal, right? Now, what does the GABA system actually do? The GABA system is the main inhibitory system in our bodies. It's basically the brake pedal in our nervous system. So it tells our bodies to relax, it tells our bodies to chill out, it tells our bodies to go to sleep. When you wake up and you start drinking coffee, doing cold showers, going at the sun, right? Cortisol spikes, and you want that cortisol to spike. You want it, you want to be stimulated, right? Caffeine as well is stimulant. But when you're going to sleep, it's the opposite. When you're going to sleep, you want to take these things like magnesium glycinate. You want to have those like blue light blockers, glasses, whatever the fuck. You want to sleep you want to see candlelight instead of like LEDs and stuff, right? Because you wanna start inhibiting the nervous system behavior. And taurine, let me tell you, taurine, it's extremely good at doing it. I can tell you from my personal experience, I've been experimenting with this for the past couple of years, but really for the past month, like genuinely just like seeing the effects. I've optimized the dose. It's about 3,000 milligrams per day, 60 minutes before I go to bed. And let me tell you, when I go to, for example, for a sparring session or just a boxing session overall, and I come back home, it's like 21:30, 22:30. If I don't take my taurine, I'm stressed out of my gills. I can't sleep for shit, right? Whereas if I do have that discipline to just take those 3,000 milligrams, take my magnesium glycinate, take a bit of carbs as well, right? They say don't eat carbs before bed. Well, you know, for me, it's more important that I get my sleep than I don't get all the growth hormone released, you know what I mean? So I do like my honey, my little bit of fruits, not too much, just a little bit, to inhibit the cortisol. Then maybe I can't sleep as good as if I hadn't had done that boxing session, but at least I can rest. I can stay in bed, I don't feel stress, I'm just chilling, resting, right? So it is very, very noticeable. Let me tell you, it's very noticeable. You want to take this about 1 hour, 30 minutes, 1 hour and 30 minutes before bed, and it really will have its effect. I've experimented with everything. I've experimented with this 3 times a day. I've experimented with 5,000 milligrams per day, in the mornings, in the afternoons, everything. The best one to have the inhibitory effects is just taking this before you go to sleep. Why 1 hour? Because it takes taurine 1 hour to not get digested, but to actually be inside of the bloodstream, to peak in the bloodstream, right? 3,000 milligrams per day, 1 hour before bed. Now, so this is the GABA receptor agonist. So recapping, what are the effects? Less cortisol and relaxation. When it comes to another extremely important function of taurine, taurine is one of the most abundant amino acids present in our nuts, right? Inside of our testicles, there's amino acids. Taurine is one of the most abundant ones. In fact, it's so abundant that people thought that Red Bull was putting in bull semen, bull cum, whatever, inside of their soft drinks because people like made a correlation between testicles and taurine because of how abundant it is inside. Now, obviously, that wasn't true. They make their own taurine, but that was a funny story. And the truth is that inside of those testicles, two of its main functions is actually, number 1, anti-inflammatory, and number 2, antioxidant. So it is just like selenium, right? When you ingest selenium, it travels down and it sort of like sticks onto your nuts, generally. Taurine kind of does the same thing. It's very important there. The nuts need it. So it has anti-inflammatory effects. It has antioxidant effects. And well, as you know, in nowadays, especially if you live in a city, if you're breathing air that's not so fresh, maybe you're drinking a bit of plastic water from whatever. If you're not like extremely vigilant with the water you eat the foods wrapped in plastic, all that stuff, herbicides, pesticides, whatever on the fruit. Chances are you're going to be ingesting a lot of things that are going to harm your body. Now, you can go to the sauna, sweat it out, whatever, yes, but the more help, the better, right? The more you can actually preserve them, the more you can care for them, the better they will serve you. So anti-inflammatory effects and antioxidant effects. So we talked about the dosage, right? It's 3,000 milligrams per day. Well, let's say you don't want to take a supplement. Which foods actually have the most taurine present? Well, it turns out that seafood, right? So these like little monsters in the sea and the octopus and the jellyfish. I don't know even what seafood really is that much, but also fish, to be honest, have a lot of taurine. But fish and seafood have the most taurine present out of the entire world, right? Earth. It's about 900 and something milligrams per 100 grams. But to be honest, you don't eat that much seafood, right? You might eat it like once a month, right? When it comes to meat, when it comes to things you actually eat more of, poultry, especially dark poultry, so the dark bits in turkey and in chicken, they have a lot. They have about 300 milligrams per 100 grams. But truth be told, you don't even eat that much of that dark bits, right? Like it's not that abundant. When it comes to the foods that we like to eat, so the like testosterone foods, so like beef and eggs and all that stuff, beef has approximately 50 milligrams of taurine per 100 grams of beef. If you do the maths, to get that dosage, you'd have to eat 6 kilograms of beef a day. And ideally 1 hour before you go to bed. So it's not realistic, right? And then there's the whole thing of bioavailability. Every time you cook meat, seafood, whatever, and you change the structure because you cook them, right, to eat them, you actually make it less bioavailable. This is the first time that I know of, probably not the first time, but the first one that I know of, where the supplement is actually more bioavailable than the meat. Because this supplement, this powder, is almost 100% bioavailable. So, should you buy this or not? Well, it's up to you. But in my opinion, it's a no-brainer. And the cost is extremely low as well. You can have this dose for 5 cents if you buy it in bulk. About 5 cents per day to get these effects. To get the GABA receptor agonist, to get the reduction in cortisol, the relaxation, and as well as the anti-inflammatory effects. It is quite an experimental thing. Some people say it's the, you know, the fountain of life, whatever. But genuinely, I've seen results. I've been experimenting with this on and off, doing days where I don't take it, days where I do take it, and trust me, there is a big difference, especially when it comes to sleep, when it comes to this thing, this mechanism right here. This is hard to say. It's obviously a nice bonus, but this definitely, 3,000 milligrams per day, definitely. Alright then, we're done. I'll see you in the next one.